Morning, guys. Morning. Please sit down. You guys are the hardcore team, right? The guys who are here in the morning. The day before the president gets in, now that's hardcore. All right, I'm kind of at a loss here because the prior panel stole my thunder. Because really, is there anything more shocking than what you just heard? My parents fled communism. My dad was actually liberated from a communist prison. He was put there at the age of 20 with a life sentence because he was a patriot. And when you hear these stories of political prisoners in America, people who are being kept without a hearing in prison for 1, for 2 years, that's fine in Venezuela, but not here. And then to hear that tragic story of Matt Perner, that beautiful young man. Did she tell the story? I don't think Jerry told it here, but she's done it on my radio show, America First, a couple times. When they went from charging him with trespassing because he walked through the velvet ropes with a few months of a misdemeanor, and then they gave him a new trial date on his mother's death anniversary. Can you think? The DOJ gave him a new hearing on the anniversary of that young man's mother's death. And they said, oh, by the way, we're going to add a terrorist upgrade to your sentence, and you'll probably go away for a decade. He walked through the velvet ropes for a couple of minutes and then left. What did he do? He hanged himself. He's one of at least half a dozen. You heard, a 21-year-old young man killed himself instead of rotting in one of Biden's political prisons. So, most important thing I can do here is just one thing. I'll give you a little speech. I've got 10 minutes. But the most important thing is that website you heard, Patriot Freedom Project. Now, write it down, put it in your phone, patriotfreedomproject.com, and donate. Donate to the families whose lives have been ruined by Joe Biden, Merrick Garland, and the corrupt FBI. Okay, thank you. So what's the most fun part of CPAC? Come on, what is it? Me? Oh, you're too kind. You're too kind. All right. Selfies afterwards, okay? Tomorrow afternoon, my boss, or my former boss, or God willing, my future boss. The speech from 45, and if we do our part, 47. So let's talk about him for a bit, because it kind of ties into Matt Perner, political prisoners, and what the president put on Truth Social a couple of days ago that I'll share with you. Wherever I go, I just got back from Idaho, Nashville, off to California soon, and I speak to patriots across the country. Doesn't matter where I am, who the audience is, sooner or later we get to the Q&A, which is the most fun part, right? To ask people, get in a communication with them. I want to ask you this, Seb, and Dr. G, tell me about that. Wherever I go, whoever's in the audience, sooner or later, what question do they ask? What's he really like? Right? Everybody wants to know, what's he really like? And as his former strategist, his former deputy in the White House, I got some bad news for you. What you see is what you get. I've been living in this stinking cesspit of Washington for 16 years. And there's nobody genuine here, right? At least in politics. They have the perfect hair, the white teeth, right? And they're all fake. And they're smiling for the cameras, and then behind closed doors, they're just scum. Just scum. With President Trump, whether you've seen him in an auditorium with 60,000 people in a stadium, or whether he's with me, by myself, in the Oval Office, he's exactly the same, because he's not a faker. However, Let me tell you one story from a guy who worked for him. I got hired by him in 2015, right? I'm OG, right? I'm original gangster. 2015. There's a connection between me and Stormy Daniels. Do you know that? I, too, signed an NDA with the Trump organization. So when he hired me, I thought, can I work for this guy? And we were in Trump Tower, just me, the future president, and Corey, his campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski. And we had this amazing discussion about national security, from the Civil War to ISIS to nuclear weapons, you name it. And halfway through, classic Trump, it's like The Apprentice, like an episode. He stops the conversation dead, looks at Corey in the corner, and says, I like this guy, let's hire him. Right? Not fire him, hire him. And I decided, yeah, I can work for candidate Trump, because within 30 seconds of meeting him, I knew two things. Just viscerally, like osmosis, I knew. Number one, this man hates political correctness. He hates political correctness. And the second thing is, he loves America. He loves America. And so I became part of his transition team working for the great General Flynn, and then I ended up in his White House as his deputy. And that was amazing. I mean, think about this. No other country on the planet. As you can tell from my deep Alabamian accent, I wasn't born here. My parents escaped communist Hungary, ended up in England. I was born and raised in England. And I married an American woman, my boss, my muse, Katie. And so I'm a green card holder. And I moved to America to become a professor for the Defense Department. I became an American in 2012. So just track with me, if you will. And the day after the inauguration, everybody's hungover because they all went to the inauguration balls, right? I don't drink. So I said, it may be Saturday, but hey, I work for the president. I'm going to go to work. And Saturday morning, by myself, because everybody's hungover, I'm walking around the West Wing. And I go, and when I tell this story, I still get shivers. I wasn't an American 6 years ago. And now I'm walking around the White House, picking out my office. That doesn't happen in any country in the world. That's America. But despite that experience, despite working for him before he's president, as he's president, helping him out after I leave the White House, I didn't realize who this man was until November before last. It's the midterms. My wife is working a 16-hour day as chief election officer, right? Because we know what happened in 2020, right? Right? So she's making sure there's no shenanigans in our voting district. Where am I? My wife's working this interminable day. Where am I? I'm eating the coconut shrimp at Mar-a-Lago. Because the president is about to announce what? His re-election campaign launch. And the ballroom is full. It is like MAGA headquarters, 900 of the best patriots. And I thought I knew the man. And I'm standing on the side, and I'm listening to this speech. It's one of his best. If you haven't seen it or you forgot it, go back and watch it tonight. Okay, go online and watch the president from Mar-a-Lago, November 22, launching his re-election campaign. And I'm standing there. And I worked for the guy. And I support the guy with my radio show and my TV show on Newsmax. And 20 minutes in, it's like somebody gives me a gut punch. And I'm like, I realized, oh my dear God, he's doing it again. He's running again. And it hit me. What has this man just committed to? For 4 years, what did they do to him, his wife, his children? A man who lost literally $1 billion, didn't even take a paycheck from the government, who's called a misogynist, an Islamophobe, a white supremacist, and an anti-Semite? The man whose daughter converted to Judaism, whose grandkids are Jewish, the man who moved the embassy to Jerusalem and recognized that as the capital of the eternal state of Israel. He is the anti-Semite. He could just go away, get back to his businesses, live a peaceful life, play golf for the rest of his existence. But he's doing it again. And what have they done to him since then? My former boss is facing 730 years in prison. He's just been banned from doing business in New York, a city that he probably bought, I don't think we can estimate it, $10 billion to. How much business did he bring to New York? The guy who fixed the ice skating rink in Rockefeller Plaza when the city couldn't do it for years. That guy is banned. So, what do we need to understand about the stakes? After Tucker's recent interview with Putin and the death of sudden death syndrome of the most powerful opposition leader in a Siberian gulag, President Trump wrote this on Truth Social. The sudden death of Alexei Navalny has made me more and more aware of what is happening in our country. The police state that my parents suffered under is here. It's arrived. And the only reason President Trump is facing 700 years in prison is because he's the only man who can save America. So, like you, I'll be back here tomorrow waiting to hear the boss. But I'm sorry that's not enough. And I'm talking to everyone watching on YouTube, Rumble, social media, on the video posts after this, everybody in this room. It's not enough to be at CPAC. It's not enough to watch my TV show, Newsmax, or listen to my radio show. Or if you're not actively working to save America, you're working for the Democrats. If you're not an election volunteer, an election officer like my wife, if you're not knocking on doors, Katie and my wife knocked on 18,000 doors in the last election. 18,000. If you're not running for the local school board or helping somebody who is, I'm sorry if you take this personally, but please take it personally. If you're not doing any of that, you are helping Joe Biden with his creation of the police state. So, the charge is ahead of us for the next 9 months. Good Christians every morning pray to God and should ask themselves, what am I going to do to glorify my Savior today? At the end of the day, you should ask yourself, did I do it? Did I do something to glorify God? For the next 7 months, I want to add one more thing to that. In the morning, when you decide, how am I going to serve my Lord and Savior? I want you to say, how am I going to save the Republic? And at the end of the day, as you rest your head on one of Mike Lindell's My Pillows, promo code GORKA, you ask yourself, did I serve Jesus today? Did I do something to save the nation? Because it's up to us. As one of our founding fathers told that nice old lady after that meeting, what do we have, sir? Madam, we have a republic for as long as you can keep it. God bless.